Today, let's look at the kneeling entries to handstand. Now, it could be like that, more of a jump. You could do it slower like a press. Now, notice I'm going through straddle. You could do a pike, you could do a tuck, and you could do movements in between where you like bend the legs. We can use the wall in some way as well. So I'm gonna go through different variations today. So first of all, just get yourself into a kneeling position on the floor. If you're not comfortable on a concrete floor, obviously use some mats. You can do it with the toes this way around if you need to, but it's much easier in terms of going straight up to be in a full kneeled position, because you're gonna use the power from the knees and the hips to open up like a spring upwards. I'm gonna open up to handstand hands, have the thumbs by the knees in that position, already pushing some weight into the floor, and then I'm just going to try and extend, jump, land on my feet. Come back down again, make sure you reset with the knees in line with the thumbs, do the same thing, go a little bit higher, come back down again. Once you feel comfortable with that, or if you can already have a jump to handstand, you could just play with going up from there. Don't worry too much about the legs, just try and stack everything. So think you're trying to jump the hip on top of the shoulder, and then the legs on top of the hip and the shoulder and the hands to go into your handstand position. If that feels too much of a step up for you, do the same thing against the wall. So you have the safety that if you go over, you can touch and you're not worried about backsplatting. Just be a little bit careful with this one that you don't headbutt the wall when you go forwards and up. We don't want to go too much forwards, but obviously as my hips come up, they come in this way, my head and shoulders will go forwards a little bit as well. So we could stay tucked. We could go to straddle, or we could do pike. That one was a bit messy. But the principle is the same for all of them. We're getting the power from the knees and the hips, opening up. We want to send everything straight up on top of the hands and shoulders. We don't want to send everything up in that direction because it will send us backwards, and obviously we don't want to send everything in that way because it will send us over. So if you are using the wall, just make sure that you're still aiming to go straight up, and then you lightly kiss the wall as opposed to smashing into the wall. Some people do struggle with the down, so if you get up and can't go back down, or you're worried about smashing your toes or your knees into the floor, just come down your normal way, and then over time build confidence and strength with the concentric, going up, and then eventually you can start to do partial range on the way down until eventually you've got the confidence and the control to bring it back down again without smashing your toes into the floor. Now, once we have the jump down and we can catch in our handstand position, whether that's against the wall or freestanding, we can then think of it like a dial, and I'm just going to slow it down, use less momentum and use a bit more strength. So somewhere in between would be like this. So still a bit of a jump, but definitely not as fast as the one before. Then I could just keep turning the dial down to the point that I make it so slow that it's definitely a press handstand. Just remember with this one, the concentric and the eccentric should equal each other out. So if I go slow on the way up, I should go slow on the way down. If I struggle with slow on the way up, do a fast up, but then really work on that technique of coming down as slow as possible, kissing the toes to the floor, bending the knees, coming back into that start position. And same thing, we could do that with the straddle like I just showed. We could do it with the tuck, so it's a little bit slower, and then go really slow like a press. And the same with the pike. So you'll notice I have to really strain to get that pike press from the kneeling, because it does start with the hip a little bit lower for me. If you can get the hip up and over, like a standing pike, it's going to be a bit easier. But if you're not up to the press level, make sure you do lots of these, because this type of entry and just jumps in general are really going to help with you going up into your handstand instead of over and constantly trying to struggle with your catch. Thumbs up and subscribe will be appreciated. Let me know if you have any comments or questions down below. Check out my website, www.paultwyman.com.au, and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks, guys.